This is KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. Welcome to the Marc Kapetan Show. This is attorney Marc Kapetan, your host. Today's show is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. We've been serving the Central Valley since 1995. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, give us a call at 559-498-8000. Or if you've been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, call the Kapetan Brothers at 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers, we are the Valley's law firm. Sponsor for today's show, Arc Mediterranean Grill. Marcella, we love the Arc Mediterranean Grill. Delicious Mediterranean food, authentic Armenian goodness. 2 locations in Fresno and Clovis. Take the office lunch, maybe take some dinner home for the family. The Arc Mediterranean Grill, you'll love it. Folks, a majority of us live with, we got a special guest. In fact, it's a friend of mine too. And we just had a nice retreat at Scottsdale with a bunch of our friends. And so I'm glad to have her on the show. A majority of us live with deep, dark secrets in our lives, whether it's a mental health issue or addictions or childhood traumas or compromising events in lives. Many of us live with memories that never see the light of day. That they may never be revealed, never shared. These inner thoughts affect our daily routine and they shape our future. And if left uncontrolled, our thoughts can be our ruin. Believe me, in my line of work as an attorney, I've had plenty of an occasion where a client has revealed secrets that they've never told anybody, and I'm serious, anybody. Tales of abuse, neglect, disorders that have remained unresolved. I usually tell them, hey, welcome to the club, It's humanity. We all have to deal with these issues in one form or another. It's indeed a struggle to live with these thoughts, but to think, I want you to think about the struggle of not only having these secrets in our lives, but to have the struggle and the strength to choose to reveal them, and then think of the strength of one who could reveal them in a very, very public way. My next guest chose to do just that. Starting Tomorrow is a young adult book that follows Mackenzie, a high schooler, as she struggles with bulimia and self-image and body dysmorphia. Somewhat common amongst teenage girls, disorders like bulimia, anorexia, body dysmorphia are described by my next guest as more about thought control rather than a person's looks. One's thoughts, as she writes, can be one's enemy. And as she writes, quoting the psychologist that she sees in the book, our thoughts become our beliefs become our words become our actions become our habits, and our habits become our reality. Control the thoughts and you control the reality. Control your weight and you control your life, even though the body suffers as a result. So here to tell us all about her reality and her life, author of the young adult book, Starting Tomorrow, and a friend of mine, Nikki Lampe-Nalchajian. Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you, Mark. It's so great to be here. So happy to be here.
I appreciate it. Listen, I got to start off this whole thing because we're going to be talking about weight disorder, eating disorders, bulimia, etc. And let's get one thing straight. Despite all the struggles you had in your past, we had an amazing weekend about a week ago in Scottsdale, didn't we?
It was great.
We ate a ton, drank a little bit.
It was great.
Yeah.
So much fun hanging out by the pool.
Hanging out by the pool, yes. Let me ask you, because we did share some great meals with your husband, Dave Nalchajian, Brian Richburg, Rob Soroyan, etc. We're going to talk about your problems as a young child or a young teenager in eating disorders. Does that thing keep coming up as we're sitting around having these great meals, etc.? Does it still pop into your psyche all these many years later?
That's a great question. No, for me, it does not. That has not been the issue for a very long time. So No.
Really?
Yeah.
You never have that sense of in the day, and I know in the book Starting Tomorrow, this character of Mackenzie, she gets to the point to where she does the exact opposite. She starts stuffing herself with tons of cookies. I think at one point she's eating 20 cookies at a time, etc. But there isn't that long-lasting sense of controlling my urges and things that will pop up and sort of show itself and reveal itself in different ways years later.
Well, when you say that, it's interesting because I had that issue with bulimia in high school, and then what I realized is that desire, like what's under it, it's more like bulimia is the symptom of something underneath.
Right. So we're going to get into that.
Okay.
Yes.
So I won't, but the eating, is not. I always am really aware because I've done so much work about, okay, what is that underneath? And so I do see it. It then evolved from that to other things. So I guess we'll get to that.
So you do identify that, like whether a person has OCD, whether they have anxiety, whether they have depression, you do identify in the book, and you do identify with your personal life. You have found, and I don't want you to reveal what it is, but you do identify that there's an underlying issue that whether it's bulimia, anorexia, whether it's overeating, that's just a symptom of the underlying issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I deal with this on a daily basis. I always say, in fact, one of the titles in these workup plans that I do with people is "Know Your Issue," and they go, "Oh, well, it's drinking. I got a DUI, right?" And I'm like, "No,
I don't know your issue."
Yeah, you're right. That's only the beginning. Okay, Mackenzie, where did you come up with Mackenzie, and what's the struggle that she goes through?
Where did I come up with her as a character?
Yeah.
Well, originally I wrote the story back. A totally loosely veiled autobiography. And then when I decided to make it a young adult novel, I had to turn it into now. Like it couldn't be in the 80s. It needed to be contemporary. And so then all of the characters, myself included, I thought, I'll throw in a couple cell phones, we'll be good. And it just didn't work. So I had to redo the whole thing. And I drew pictures. I'm like a stick figure drawer. Yeah. And I just came up with it. And I don't know the name. And then she is me.
Right.
But she has a different family, kind of a slightly different parental unit. So she is me, but there are things that aren't exactly the same. I'd say she's a little more evolved than I was.
I was wondering if your sister, the character's sister Maddie, and her best friend London, and by the way, folks, I'm a 60-year-old guy who knows about this young adult novel, and I did another show with Casey West, who's a young adult writer from here in town too. So it's a little odd for me to be talking about it, but I was wondering if there was an equivalent Maddie in your life, sister in your life, an equivalent London best friend, and those kind of things.
Well,
it became a story of its own, is what you're saying?
It really did. And these are kind of characters that now they really have their own. It's like there is this other dimension. They live there. When I'm writing, I'm sort of asking them, okay, so what happened now? Like things literally happen sometimes when I'm writing that I didn't even know were going to happen.
So it's funny because I've always said it's so great to read a book instead of watching a movie because you start creating the reality inside your head. So what you're saying is, as a writer, the characters started writing themselves.
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I usually have a big arc when I'm writing it, and then as I go and I fill it in and I'm writing, things happen. They surprise me. Okay.
It's done in a journal form to where you say April 5th and that little girl, April 5th, and you always say April 5th, 110 pounds, calorie count minus 30 or whatever. How much of that journal happens to reflect what happened in your own life?
Probably parts of it, the writing about keeping track of the calories and all of that, a lot.
Yeah.
And that was depending on how dedicated I wanted to be. It sort of had that there comes back to that control. Like
How dedicated as an author, or how dedicated
no.
do you want to be when you were going through
personally when I was going through it. So reflecting my journal back then, depending.
So you did keep a journal yourself?
I've always kept. I love journaling.
Did you have to refer back to your journal when writing this?
No, because I mean I remember this so well.
Right. So it was your life, and you're not.
When I'm in, I don't refer to anything.
Yeah.
When it's like in there. Sometimes I'll write a scene, I'll delete it, or I'll put it off and like, I'm not going to use this. And I will literally write the same scene, but not remember I wrote it, and then find the scene I wrote. And I already wrote that.
Right.
It's like, so I don't keep it to refer to.
All right. We'll be right back with Nikki Lampe-Nalchajian right after this, the author of Starting Tomorrow, about a book about her struggles with bulimia. This is the Marc Kapetan Show on KMJ. This is KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. Welcome back to the Marc Kapetan Show. Folks, I want to thank our sponsor, the Arc Mediterranean Grill. You know the Arc Mediterranean Grill in Fresno and Clovis? It's like Noah's Ark, but they serve delicious food. No animals. The Akazian brothers. We love the Akazian brothers. Marcella, what is it again? You like the chicken? Yeah, you love the chicken salad, the chicken kebabs. She loves the rice. There's mouth-watering hummus, delicious dolma, shish kebab, beef kebabs, or Marcella's favorite, the chicken kebab plate. Yeah. So go to Champlain and Shepherd or Herndon and Armstrong. Get a little baklava for dessert. Take some for lunch for the office or home to the family for dinner. You'll love it. Authentic Armenian goodness brought to you by the Akazian brothers, the Arc Mediterranean Grill in Fresno and Clovis. Thanks for their sponsorship. All right, folks, we are back on the Marc Kapetan Show with Nikki Lampe-Nalchajian from the book Starting Tomorrow, a book about her battles with bulimia and body dysmorphia. Is it body dysmorphia the proper terminology to say?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so bulimia. Let's explain it. I know it's the lunch hour out there, folks, but bulimia, we all know Karen Carpenter with anorexia. She died in the 80s, famous musician. I think she was down to probably about 70, 80 pounds by the time she died. Bulimia is a little bit different of a thing. Go ahead and explain that.
Karen Carpenter, she was also
bulimic, yeah.
Right, so it causes heart problems, so...
But not every anorexic may be bulimic, or is
Correct.
that okay?
Right. Bulimia means traditionally, so you binge and then you vomit.
Right.
So, but also it can also be exercising. There's exercise bulimia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like somebody might eat a whole lot and then exercise for 4 hours. So sometimes it's kind of like. But people think exercising is healthy, so
yeah,
that is kind of sometimes a hidden thing.
So it could be. So I've never understood that definition. So bulimia just doesn't mean the act of regurgitating or vomiting. Sort of like the Romans would binge and then they would let it all go basically so that they don't retain the food and gain weight. But it could also be any form of extreme response to weight gain.
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of laxatives is a common thing for people who are bulimic to use laxatives as well.
And so they may not resort to the act of regurgitating. They may just use laxatives.
Yes, but it's definitely not the same. Like if your goal is to get, vomiting is the
right, because you want to get rid of the weight, the calories ever from getting into your body.
Exactly.
Okay. In the book Starting Tomorrow, it's reflecting basically, or it's at least paralleling your life somewhat.
Yes.
This Mackenzie will basically announce, today is April 5th, in her journaling of the book. It's done in journalistic or journal form. And she will announce her weight, which fluctuated anywhere from, about 100 to 110, maybe even less than 100. How far does she get down in the book? Her
lowest is like 109, I think.
Okay. And so she's getting down to whatever. There's like a 10-pound swing for a young girl like that, which is pretty dramatic for a young girl like that. But then she also talks about how much food completely written down and journaled, and then what the balance between that, her throwing up, and her basically exercising, and her goal was to have a negative balance every day, right?
At some point, right. She's trying to get a hold on it because she does not want to throw up anymore. That's the premise of the book. Like, she thinks, okay, so I'm going to start really tracking this so that I can not eat, I won't have to throw up.
Right. You went through the same struggles yourself. What was your lowest weight?
I don't know.
So
115. I was not. She is. I'm. Since she's not exactly me,
right?
And I don't know about that weight. That was. So I was never. You would not look at me and think I was anything.
See, that's the interesting.
I wasn't big. I wasn't small. I was just totally average.
And that's the interesting part that I'm discovering as we're talking here. I thought for sure you would say, "Oh, I got down to 97 pounds or whatever it was," and it seems like that's not the goal for the person that has this disorder.
Well, it might be the goal, but it's very difficult. It just depends, because to get down to a certain, you really have to restrict. So that's where the anorexia, bulimia, a lot of times you're both. I would say I was never anorexic.
Yeah.
Because the eating part was just such a huge part. So there's like a psychological thing that when you really stop eating when you're anorexic, it's pretty difficult to eat a lot, even if you vomit and get past a certain point.
But the ultimate thing that in reading this book, and then also knowing from having personal friends go through this and stuff like that, is the ultimate isn't about the weight loss as much as it's all about control.
Right. I think that it is about control. I would say it isn't consciously, as somebody who's going through it, is not thinking, I want to control things. I think that consciously they're thinking, I want to be thin.
I want to lose weight, yeah.
This is my goal. But underneath that is a sense of control.
So the question is this an OCD behavior? Is there something that you identify that is out of control in life that, it's like the AA terminology that they use, I choose to control the things that I can control, and I choose to let go of the things that I can't control. Is there something in your life back then, and again, you don't have to say what it is, but is there something that was out of control that this is the one thing in my life I'm going to try to control?
The way I see it is that there's like another layer under the control. And so it's controlling, because you are trying to not experience something that is uncomfortable. So you have some trauma, something that has happened. And you don't want to feel those feelings, whether you're angry or you're sad or whatever it is. So by having this external control, and you create this separation from your body. So your body becomes this thing to control. It's not really part of you.
Right.
Which is very helpful when you aren't consciously doing this, but you're trying to keep these feelings and these things at bay because they're uncomfortable.
But is it as simple as the girls in high school make fun of me, or is there usually typically with people that have some really underlying trauma that may have occurred to them at some point before?
I think there's probably the range. Yeah. But always, even you can always trace something back, and we all have something. And everybody deals with it in a certain way. And the more it's in your consciousness, the more you're dealing with it healthfully. And the more you press it down, you don't want to look at it. We all have something. It comes out somewhere.
Right,
and
right.
This is a really common. And then you put all the external factors, social factors, and that's often
that's
where
the
it
result.
comes out.
That's McKinsey in this book. Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll be right back with Nikki Lampe-Nalchajian from Starting Tomorrow, the book Starting Tomorrow, about her struggles with bulimia. We'll be right back after this on the Marc Kapetan Show. This is KMJ. The Marc Kapetan Show is sponsored by Arc Mediterranean Grill. Hey friends, the Marc Kapetan Show wants to thank our sponsor, Arc Mediterranean Grill. I love Mediterranean food, and I have to say, Arc Mediterranean Grill makes the best. Mouth-watering hummus, delicious dolma, some of my favorite, shish kebabs, chicken kebabs, the lamb chops, it's all great. And if you want something sweet at the end of the meal, pick up a little baklava. They have 2 locations, one in Fresno on Champlain and Shepherd, and in Clovis on Herndon and Armstrong. It's authentic Armenian goodness, brought to you by the Akizian brothers, Arc Mediterranean Grill. Thanks, you guys. Today's episode is also brought to you by Pappy's Fine Foods. Delicious seasonings, marinades, and sauces. Try the original Pappy's Choice seasoning, or my favorite, lemon pepper. Pappy's Fine Foods. And by Pardini's Catering. The Kapetan family has used Pardini's for over 40 years. If you have an event, choose the best. Pardini's Catering is the best. This is KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. Folks, you could check out all the KMJ shows at KMJNow.com, or you could get the KMJ app for your cell phone, smartphone. And you can check out the Kapetan, Marc Kapetan Show, streaming on YouTube, streaming on, Facebook. Smash that like button, as the kids say. Smash that like button. But if you've been injured in an auto accident, truck accident, or the motorcycle accident, Marcella, who do you call?
The Kapetan Brothers.
The Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. She knows that. Yes, she does. Kapetan Brothers, if you've been injured in an accident, please give us a call. I promise you we will help you out and we'll ease all your concerns and answer all your questions. It's just a phone call away, 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers, 559-498-8000. Nikki Lampe-Nalchajian. Lampe, from the Auto Guys. No, you said you're not related to that, right?
I know.
You're a Long Beach girl?
I was born in Long Beach.
Yeah, Long Beach. Yeah. Southern California girl?
Yes.
Was all how much of this we're on with Nikki Lampe-Nalchajian. She's the author of the book Starting Tomorrow, which is details in character form a struggle of a young teenage girl with bulimia and body dysmorphia, something that a lot of young teenage girls go through. How much of this do you think was influenced in your own personal life by TV, Hollywood, being in Southern California, standing in the mirror before going to school and looking at yourself and just having thoughts that, gee, I need to be something better than what I think, I am right now?
Huge.
Really?
Amount. Oh yeah, absolutely. And a lot, back then, magazines, looking 17 magazine, looking at the model, wanting to look like that, and just people saying, she's pretty, she's that. TV, definitely wanting to live up, wanting to look like that.
So, and you think about a guy's version of this, it may be like muscle bound, doing steroids and getting, extreme, bodybuilding and stuff like that. It is a dysmorphic sense. You're looking at yourself. You said you're about 115 pounds, which is normal for a girl that would have been in, high school at those age. You're, obviously a nice looking woman. You must have made it a very pretty young girl and stuff like that. What sets you differently from, and is it the sense of OCD or things of that nature? What makes one girl sit there and have this sense of, I'm looking in the mirror and I see something that's wrong, and another girl will just go, oh, I look great, walk off? Right.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Let's see. I think the words that you are told, are you what you're being told that you look like? How there was a fair amount, or if you see a lot of judgment around you, whether it's about you or others.
Geez, I got 3 Kapetan. There's 3 Kapetan brothers. I'm surrounded by judgment, but
you internalize it and you go, and I would like to find the girl, the teenage girl that actually looks and doesn't. That's a challenging thing.
Yeah.
Living back then, now it's all the same. It's probably more difficult now with social media, but
Yeah, but at one point, the character Mackenzie is talking to her dad. She's basically on the path of rehabilitation as far as her acts of bulimia, but she's eating a bunch of cookies, and her dad is like, "Hey, daughter, you need to control this," and basically judgmental. Is that something that occurred in your life? Is that part of the trigger?
Part of the trigger, I would say it was more wanting to live up to, that piece of it, but it's so much bigger than that, but that's the surface.
Yeah.
Yes. Wanting to live up to look like the people that my dad said looked good, right? Particular people. Oh, that's what you want to look like. He's not saying it to us, right? I have 2 sisters.
Yeah.
But you internalize it. You're like, oh, that equals that's good. That person looks good. Very conscious of the way people look.
So it's not just a pure vanity thing or a pure jealousy thing of I'm going to go show these girls in school, etc.
No.
There's a response somewhere in your life that you're getting that says, "Oh, this isn't right. I'm doing something wrong here."
Right. Or you're just striving to be. For me, it's like, I just want to be like the best. I want to be approved of, and I want to be, I want that approval. Oh, you look good. I want to hear those words.
In the book, Mackenzie at one point is going to the prom, or I forgot if it was prom night or whatever, and wakes up 3 days later in the hospital, doesn't realize that she's fainted, and it's that. True to life?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, I never. I really just reached a point. There's a point in there where she's eating these cookies and she can't stop.
She can't stop, yeah.
Because I really kind of was like, I think I'm going to die, literally, if I don't get some help. Because I kept trying to do it myself.
But what's funny is at one point, you make this statement, and I want to know if this also comes from your personal life and not just the book. Death, it's a nice thought. Dying would be easier than not being able to control myself. I like the idea that I get so thin that I die.
That was absolutely like the Karen Carpenter. It's so funny you bring that up because I loved her music and I loved her. And there was something romantic about that. It was like I wanted to be, and I know other people, it's like so thin also that no one could ever say, that's where the scale comes in, no one could ever say you were fat because you're looking at yourself going, oh, so you're looking for this external validation.
So I'm dead. People are looking at my gravestone and they say, boy, that's sad that she died, but at least she wasn't fat.
I do not know. I don't know. It's so irrational. You're just so, or I was, and I do believe it's a common experience. You're just so disconnected from your body and from your life that you've created this alternate reality.
Well, it's funny that you use the term irrational. I basically likened it because listen, we all, at least for me, I have a little OCD behaviors, etc. And I thought to myself that it's basically the act of not knowing what the terminal point is the act of doing things so repetitively, so irrationally, so unreasonably, because we have no sense of where the termination point is, where most people may say, if they're doing repetitive behaviors or things like bulimia, they'll say, oh, well, that's just nuts. I'm going to stop and I'm going to go have a sandwich or whatever. But that's part of it, is you understand that there's just a completely irrational, unreasonable basis behind it.
Absolutely.
At one point, a psychologist, you start seeing a psychologist yourself?
Yes.
Okay. What's the one thing that the psychologist said that you will remember to this day that you say, that was the turning point?
It was a bit of an evolution. So the first thing was, she said, okay, this was also in the book, you need to, the first thing is you need to stop throwing up. So I was like, oh, okay. So
yeah, but that's a simple statement.
Right. But I said, okay, and she made me commit to that. And then, so that reminds me so much of, like you said, with AA, sometimes you have to stop the behavior before you can start. And then she had me this affirmation of every time I would eat, say that I was worthy of the food. Like, I'm worthy of this food. This food nourishes me, which was so hard because food was like the enemy. My body's the enemy. Food is the enemy.
And it was this act that you explained was, instead of the mind fighting against the body, instead of the mind talk, let the body tell you, I need this.
Yes.
And let the body start having a conversation with you, basically.
Absolutely. And that really was, and that's kind of the heart of everything since then. You know, that letting my body, my heart run the show. I mean, the mind is full of tricks. The
Right.
mind is just thinks it's so smart, but really your body knows everything.
Yeah, so let the body take over control where the mind keeps trying to play tricks on you, basically.
Absolutely.
We are on with Nikki Lampe-Nalchajian, who is the author of Starting Tomorrow, which details her struggles with bulimia and body dysmorphia. We'll be right back after this on the Marc Kapetan Show. This is KMJ. The Marc Kapetan Show is sponsored by Arc Mediterranean Grill. Hey friends, the Marc Kapetan Show wants to thank our sponsor, Arc Mediterranean Grill. I love Mediterranean food, and I have to say, Arc Mediterranean Grill makes the best. Mouth-watering hummus, delicious dolma, some of my favorite, shish kebabs, chicken kebabs, the lamb chops, it's all great. And if you want something sweet at the end of the meal, pick up a little baklava. They have 2 locations, one in Fresno on Champlain and Shepherd, and in Clovis on Herndon and Armstrong. It's authentic Armenian goodness, brought to you by the Akazian brothers, Arc Mediterranean Grill. Thanks, you guys. Today's episode is also brought to you by Pappy's Fine Foods. Delicious seasonings, marinades, and sauces. Try the original Pappy's Choice seasoning, or my favorite, lemon pepper. Pappy's Fine Foods. And by Pardini's Catering. The Kapetan family has used Pardini's for over 40 years. If you have an event, choose the best. Pardini's Catering is the best. This is KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. We want to thank once again our sponsor, Arc Mediterranean Grill. The Akazian brothers out there, if you're looking for some great Mediterranean food, go to the Arc Mediterranean Grill in Fresno or in Clovis. I promise you'll love it. Great stuff. We are back on with, welcome back to the Marc Kapetan Show, by the way. This is KMJ. I think I may have forgot to say that. We are back on with Nikki Lampe-Nalchajian. She is the author of Starting Tomorrow, which details her struggles with bulimia as a young teenage girl. In journalistic character form, great book. It's the second YA book I've read this year, which is a little odd, but that's okay. Young adult books, young adult girl books. I don't know. That sounds very strange for me to say. Nikki now, NIKKINAL.com, right?
Yes.
You could check out her book there. You could check out some of her training. You're a shaman and an energy basically reader and stuff like that.
I am.
What is that? What do you do?
Well, with the energy reading, you're reading the aura layers because
okay.
I've trained you. You can see energy. You know how you can feel energy.
Yeah.
You can also train to see it.
Is it one of those things where there's obviously there's always this mysticism when it comes to shamans and energy and stuff like that, but is there also a psychological basis that would be considered more scientific, where you are also reading? And it could even relate to this issue of control and bulimia. You're reading how uptight a person is, how their disposition is, how they hold themselves and their body and everything.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Things come through that, and you see them, there's a lot of symbolism and things, like when you're telling somebody what you see in them, and you make an agreement to read somebody. I'm not sitting here reading you.
You're not?
No, because
believe me, there's no energy.
I mean,
you should see my latest testosterone results.
I mean, you could, but that's very invasive. It's just kind of like, you need an agreement. But then what comes through is kind of what the other person would speak to you. So the images or the colors or the words that I tell you, it's like what you're showing me. So what I tell you, it's what you're showing me, and it will speak to you. You will understand what that means. It's not always direct.
But without, I mean, because I'm not the most metaphysical of guys, it's also partly based on just the conversation that you may have with a person too. It's right.
Well,
or is it purely
reading,
just
no.
an energy reading?
No, in an energy reading, it's purely, you're not talking.
Wow.
They might come to you and say, I'm looking for clarity around a certain thing, or I'm blocked or whatever. And so then that's the question you're posing. That's sort of the framework as you're reading. And then so what comes through is relevant for that. And that's what the person, it speaks to them about that.
Speaking about energy readings, I don't know how you ever married your husband, Dave. Number one, you're a UCLA girl and he was a USC guy.
Yes.
But you talk about energy, Marcella. What do you read when you read Dave? Because that guy is filled with energy. I don't know how you do it.
Oh no, he's great.
He's a wonderful guy.
He really is.
You met on spring break?
We did.
Uh-oh.
We met on spring break.
I wish I was a fly on the wall there.
It was fun. It's hard to believe.
You had a paper route where you delivered the papers while you were on roller skates?
Yes. It was so good. I was in 4th grade. I mean, the things you got to do back then, right?
Yeah.
I roller skated around the neighborhood. I had my thing that I wore in the front. I even went and collected. I mean, who would
on roller skates?
10-year-old girl go door to door, hi, collecting for the register, and then I would collect it. And I had these striped socks and dolphin shorts. I mean,
dolphin shorts. Marcella doesn't know what those are. Marcella,
70s.
I had a pair of dolphin shorts, by the way. Oh, if I could find that picture again.
Yes.
Oh my God, this was down in Long Beach.
My dad would help me on Sundays because they were so big.
Because of the big
you
papers,
had to
right?
Stuff the paper, and then I would float at the back of the Suburban. I would throw them.
That's so funny. That was down in Long Beach?
In Newport Beach.
I mean, in Newport Beach,
Because I lived in Newport Beach until 6th grade, and then in Orange County.
As long as you're not riding a roller skate in 115-degree heat if you're here in Fresno.
Yeah, it was
okay.
easy.
One of the proudest things that you have is, number one, well, I'm going to have to say, sorry, Cole, but her first proud thing was having Cole, her son. But to me, having the daughter with the most wonderful name ever, because it happened to be my mom's name, Callie.
Yes.
She would pronounce it Kayi, which means good in Greek, and she insisted that you pronounce it Kayi, but your daughter is Callie, right?
Yes.
I love that name. What are those kids doing these days?
Cole he's at home. He works at AJ's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kitchen there, yeah. So.
Yeah. I go to AJ, Arc Mediterranean and AJ's. Yes, absolutely.
Callie, she's graduating from UCLA this year. And
she took after Mom. Went to UCLA.
She went to UCLA.
Oh, good for you. I didn't know that. Yeah. Dad not proud of that one?
Oh, he's very proud.
Really?
Oh, he even wore a UCLA beanie, went to a game.
Does his USC classmates know that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. He was in the fraternity there and everything, huh? I don't know. That's blasphemy for him to be wearing that hat. But he's proud of his daughter.
He supports his daughter, that's for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah. You did something that I've also done, and that is you went to the paleo race in Siena?
Yes.
Were you standing in the middle?
Heck no. We were up on a balcony.
Oh.
And, but it was hot. Oh.
Yeah, it was burning hot.
Oh my gosh. Straight in the sun. But it was so amazing. Oh my gosh.
The paleo folks, if you saw one of the James Bond movies, is that horse race that occurs in the middle of an Italian square. And by the way, I was in the center of that thing. It was miserably hot, but
how many hours?
I got there about 5 hours early. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we were there for the dinner the night before, right, where all the teams go and everything. You did all that stuff
fun.
too?
We didn't do the dinner.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, we have friends who live in Siena, so we were there.
Oh, how fun.
You like to travel and everything?
Yeah, I do.
That's so great. All right, you have a new book. So is this a follow-up to Starting Tomorrow?
Yes.
This whole idea of being a young adult author, this is a venture that you're going to continue with, huh?
Yes. I love young adults.
Yeah.
So I love teenagers. I mean, I
good for
really
you.
do. So
So what's the new book about?
The new one.
And what's it titled?
It's called Starting Fresh.
Oh.
So it starts right when this one ends. And so the reason, and then there's a third one as well, Starting Over. And so it's about how healing, I guess, and it's not linear.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to show in these books, and how, just because you get to a certain point, maybe you relapse, it's like showing this circular healing.
Well, and that's sort of what in Starting Tomorrow, the character Mackenzie, it was a lot of ups and downs, right?
Yes.
And same thing whether you're talking with my clients with alcohol issues or whatever, there's always an up and down, but as long as you get back on track as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And you keep doing the work. It's the work underneath, right?
Yeah. So. You put in the effort, and that's the important part of all this, right?
Absolutely.
By the way, happy birthday to our buddy Rob Soroyan, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Nikki, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you next week on the Marc Kapetan Show. Thanks to my wonderful, lovely producer, Marcella Solorio Taylor. This is KMJ.